Hello, I'm back in the workshop today. I'm going to continue the work on the Tau Stealthsuit. This time I'm going to do the work on the pelvis. First thing we're going to do on the pelvis is to fix the areas that have split. There's a couple of areas where the foam has torn. It has torn though along the seam, so it makes it very easy to repair. We're also going to sand down the actual joins, the seams themselves, make them much smoother. Then there's a lot more detail work we need to do. On the front here, there are panel lines, but these aren't very well defined. I want to stick a sheet of foam over the top of here and get extra deep lines on here and make them a bit more obvious. The same goes for the sides. I'm going to reinforce the sides, but I'm also going to add panels to add on extra detail. Now, some of this will be in a different material. Some of it will just be foam carved. Now, once that's done, we can reinforce the inside to prevent it snapping again. That's one of the main reasons why this bottom piece is actually split. It's split right along the seam, so it's obviously encountering some weight to it. Now we can use the polyester webbing to reinforce the joints, reinforce the sides. It'll also give us something to attach the carabiners to around the waist. Now, by using the polyester webbing to reinforce the waist, I can use small carabiner clips to attach the pelvis onto the metal framework using these D-links. Now, these D-links will be spaced around the metal framework, around the waist. They'll only be the rear, but it should be enough to prevent the pelvis from dropping down any further. That was one of the main issues I had at Warhammer Fest. The actual pelvis started to drop down, and the fabric that I was using to cover my waist, my stomach, just came free and kind of dangled in front. So that's one of the problems I want to resolve by doing this. So that's the plan. We're going to wipe down the pelvis, get rid of all the dust that's coating it. Then we're going to repair the seams that have split. There's only a couple, thankfully. Once we've done that, we need to take a look at the rest of the seams that are sitting kind of proud. They need to be sanded down, so we'll get the Dremel out for that and see if we can make them better. After that, it will be a case of figuring out what detail we want to add. So I'm just going to jump straight into it. I've finished repairing the pelvis. The joins that had split are now back together again. I've reinforced them with a bit of hot glue as well. The seams have been sanded down all over to get a much closer finish, a much nicer finish. They don't sit as proud now. So when we come to put the panels on, we can get a nice flush finish, a nice flat finish, instead of it being bumpy where the seams are. So the next stage is now to figure out where we're going to put those panels. The panel details themselves, we can plan where those are going to go on here. I've taken photos of the pelvis and we can draw onto here and start to figure out where things are going to go. If we don't like it, we can change it before we even start cutting any foam, which really does help us out in the long run. Once we've figured out where the panels are going to go, we can start to think about the material we're going to use. A lot of the panels are going to be EVA foam, just like the pelvis itself. But I do have a roll of this floor underlay. It has a very nice texture on the front. It's very carbon fiber looking. So it is possible for us to mix this in, possibly between the panels. We would have to make the panel joints slightly larger to accommodate for this, but depending on where we're placing it and how big the parts are, it may be well worth us getting that little added detail in. Okay, I'm just in Microsoft Whiteboard here. As you can see, we've got the pictures of the front, the side, and the rear. This will allow us to draw out the panel lines that we're going to use. Now on the front, of course, we already have them set up, but on the side and the back, we don't. So I'm just going to have a quick draw now on the back and the front and see how we get on. So as an example of the panels, I've just cut these small pieces of foam out and spaced them slightly apart, and we can see the extra detail that we're receiving in between each of these panels. This is what we're going to see around the waist, and we're going to carry this on through to the chest piece as well. So the next step is to get some masking tape onto the pelvis and cut out the templates we're going to use to cut out this fabric. masking tape all around the pelvis, and I've drawn onto the masking tape with Sharpie to try and draw out some of the panels where I'm going to be placing them. I've cut one out here, as you can see, that I've used as a template to cut out a piece of foam that I've attached to the side. Now I've only got this attached on with double-sided tape, but it goes a long way to demonstrate where the panels are going to be. Now, area here is going to be pure texture from the underlay, and then we'll have the raised sections, same again here and along the sides and all around. So if we carry on doing that, we should have a bunch of raised details with underlying texture underneath. Been a couple of days. I've finished off the panels, I've carved them all out. They still need to be beveled on the edges here. On the model, if you look, the actual pelvis section here does have a bevel to it, so I just need to sort that. I also need to take all of these back off again in a moment. They're only held on by double-sided tape, but I need to stick on the underlay to get that extra detailing that we're going to get across the top here and all the gaps in between every panel. We'll also get that detail all the way around the sides as I've continued the theme, just taking inspiration from some more of the other battle suits and the stealth suit itself. My next job is to pull off all of those temporary panels, get rid of the masking tape, so we've got a nice clean surface to stick this underlay to. I've got the first part of the underlay gluing on now. I'm waiting for that to dry before I start applying the next one. Unfortunately, I've run out of time for this week, so I'm going to leave it there. Carry on with this in the background when I get a chance. We're going to resume this again in future weeks. The next video I'm going to release will be more work on the burst cannon. I've got to fill in the seams around the actual box section and start attaching some of the detail that I've 3D printed actually onto the side. But that won't be going on until all the corners have been chamfered and everything's nice and smooth, everything's filled in, there's no more gaps. Next time we come to work on the stealth suit, we'll be finishing off the pelvis, reattaching the panels, hopefully painted. Once they're all in place, we can actually put the webbing around the waistband, get that nice and supported so it's strong, it's not going to tear again. Same goes for underneath. We can start thinking about putting those D-links in and carabiners so it'll attach onto the bottom of the chest piece. We won't need to attach it, of course, until we're happy with the chest piece and we're not going to take it apart and redesign it. If you've enjoyed following along with the projects that I've been doing here, the stealth suit, the burst cannon, remember to hit that subscribe button and notification bell icon, and I will see you next time.